Hello, welcome to Culinary Classics. My name is Guy Tino. I'll be your guide today. Today we're going to spatchcock and stuff and roll this chicken. The very first thing we're going to do is dry the bird thoroughly. You don't want it to be slipping around and making an unnecessary mess. So I got some paper towels ready. Just going to pat it dry, make sure all the excess water comes out of the inside. It's very important so the bird's not slippery, your hands stay dry, so you don't cut yourself or you're less likely to cut yourself. All right. Now, what is spatchcocking? It's basically dispatching the bones or deboning poultry. In this case, a chicken, obviously. You can do it with turkey. I really enjoy doing it with turkey for Thanksgiving because it takes much less time to cook and doesn't dry out. And you can flavor it, in my opinion, a lot easier. So, choose your knife. I'm going to use two here. My slicer for long straight cuts down the breastbone, and then my utility knife. We'll use that around the joints, and the legs and the arms. So first of all, we're going to prep the chicken. Just going to make a couple of cuts to make it easier as we're moving through the process. It's just nice here around the legs. It's a little bit difficult to remove the leg bone, so it's nice to have a little bit of advantage on the skin there. We'll take off the arms or the wings. Pretty easy. Just a 360-degree cut right around, I guess you could say, the bicep. And then with your thumb against the elbow, should pop right off just like that. And you can fry this, keep it for stock. That's what I'm going to do. Again, right around the bicep area. Nice 360 cut. Make sure you're getting through all the tendons. Nice sharp knife right here is crucial. Again, under the elbow. Pop the arm off. Well, the first one came off much easier. There we go. Now we're going to take out the wishbone or the collarbone. That'll help the breasts come off of the rib cage a little bit easier. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to cut all the way down right through the arm joint to release the whole upper side of the breast. Reach in there, right at the top of the wishbone, and you can pull it right out. There you go. Nice little wishbone. Toast it, make a wish. All right, now the bird's all set. I'm going to dry my hands off. I'm going to dry the bird off a little bit too. All right, now we're ready to get started. I'm going to start on the back, not on the front. So if I was to start on the front, we'd end up with two halves of a chicken. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to have one big piece of chicken meat. So I'm going to start on the back, take the slicer, find the middle of the spine, and go right down, right to the bottom. Right from the top to the bottom. Now you start working your way in. You're going to see the hip joint. Again, take your thumb right at the joint, push it in. I don't know if you could hear that, but it just pops loose. And then it's much easier for your knife to find its way through. Now up here, the shoulder blade, you want to keep the bone attached to the spine, so you just want the meat off the top of that. And we already, when we cut out the collarbone, we went right through to the bottom, so the arm is not attached. The leg is released. Now make sure you don't go all the way through because you don't want to cut the skin down on the bottom there. So now your leg is loose. Now you're at the bottom of the chicken breast. So the rib cage, you want to find the rib cage. Just take nice, long, so that's why I'm using my slicer, nice long, slow slices following the rib cage. And essentially just going to unroll this chicken right up to the breastbone. Now there's a tail. Now right here is just the chest bone, right in the middle of the two chicken breasts. This is a place where you have to be a little bit careful to work your way around so you don't slice this half right off. I'm going to keep it as close to the bone as you possibly can. See with that collarbone gone, it's much easier to manipulate the breast here. Nice, long, slow slices following the rib cage. There's a tenderloin. And the other leg. And we have the shoulder right here. Just doing the opposite of that we just did. Nice, long, slow slices. All this skin here, you want to keep that. That's going to help us when we go to roll this chicken. Get to this stage, you can, again, take your finger right at the joint in the leg, pop. Now it's easy for your knife to find its way through. You don't have to do any damage to your nice sharp knife. Okay. This wing stayed on here. Wish I could have done that the other time. I'm going to keep that. We'll make stock out of that. Make some nice sauce or something. Okay. Now just take this wing off. I'm going to switch knives here because we're going to start working on the bones on the legs. Set that down. Pat the bird dry again so it's not slippery. It's easy to see. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do at this stage is feel around for some pieces of bone or some tendon that I missed. Here's a piece right here. You'd hate to roll this up in your entree and have somebody bite into it, so you better check it now. A common place is right here, where the breast attaches to the rib cage and the chest center bone. A lot of cartilage in there. So you want to make sure you take that off. If it feels tough to your fingers, cut it off. Okay, now, that's the tail. We don't want that. This part is a little bit difficult. We're going to cut along the bones, down to the slices we made in the very beginning. That's where it's going to loosen up, okay? So I'm going to follow this bone right here, get to the knee, come right down. Now I can about see the entire leg bone. Turn my knife upside down and work up. Find the bone, up to the knee. Same on the other side. As it starts to get loose, and you can get your knife underneath the bone, then you can start to turn it up. Really get it out of there. Just a little bit of practice and a little bit of patience. Don't rush, because when you're working like this, it's easy to poke yourself or make an extra cut that can hurt you in the long run. But it's a lot of fun. It's a neat little trick you can do to make your neighbors think you're a professional. Okay, see here? I'm just going to follow the knee. Being very careful not to cut through the leg all the way to the bottom, because we want to have nice, solid piece of meat here. All right, one leg. Oops. While I'm over here, I'm going to check to see if I can have any bone fragments. Seems like we're okay. I don't like this little piece here. Dry my hands off and let them warm up a little bit. If they get too cold, it's hard to feel. Okay, same thing on the other side. Let me turn it this way. Maybe you can see it better. Right down the leg. We're going to make a cut in the skin, but we're going to keep it down to where you made the slice in the very beginning, around the ankle. Yep, and we're just going to slowly work your way around. See these tendons? This is what makes birds so fast. On a turkey, there's actually little bones in here. So it's a little bit different. You're going to work, the bones come up right next to the skin, so you're going to take the skin right off. Chickens aren't, well, I guess they're not as heavy, so they don't need the bone structure. Again, just going right around the knee. All right. Now, we have a completely dispatched or spatched cock here. A couple of options at this point. You can lay some plastic wrap on it and pound it flat. That'll help keep it uniform when it comes to rolling. I don't particularly like well, the noise and the action of just beating on it. So I'm going to use my knife and fillet it open. First, I'm going to take the tenderloin and fold it into the little space in between the legs where the skin is here, and that'll fill that little hole right here. Then with the dark meat, you can pretty much, there's so many little muscles in there, you can kind of form it into however you like. Okay. The chicken breasts are obviously the thickest part, so you need to flatten them out. What I like to do is go right into the center and work your way out. And be careful not to cut it off. But this way, with a couple of cuts, you can have it nice and flat. All right, I'll show you with my slicer this time. Nice, long, slow, even cut. And just keep working your way until you can flatten it. There we go. All right, don't need this anymore. Clean up the knives, wash my hands. Now, to stuff this bird, you can use anything you like. Pancetta and Swiss is great. Vegetables, we're going to use spinach and mushrooms. You can stuff it with whatever you want. Be careful to season it. Oh, wow. Big pile in the middle. I was just about to say nice and evenly. I just use salt. Thyme would be nice. Pepper can be overpowering depending on what you're seasoning it with. And, you know, you can make a nice spicy sauce if you like. And we'll lay some spinach in here. Don't need to cook it because it's going to cook with the chicken. Cut up some mushrooms. I should have done this earlier. Kind of spread them out. They're going to move around a little bit. I like to use my slicer for mushrooms. A sharp knife is a safe knife. A dull knife is a dangerous knife. Okay, we have your stuffing all set up in there. The bird has been seasoned. We want to take the dark meat and put it on the inside of the roll because there's so many pieces. If it was on the outside, it would kind of just come apart. So nice, tuck it in. There's obviously a split down the middle because there's two legs, and there's going to be a split on the top because of the chicken breast, but we'll fix that when we get it all rolled up. Okay. Chicken roulade. How do we get it to stay that way? Here is, I'll slide this in. Some plastic wrap. You don't need plastic wrap this big. Any kind will do. One that's not folded on itself, is it? All right. Nice big pieces. It's always easier to cut it too big than too small. All right. So nice big piece of plastic wrap. You're going to take your chicken roulade, the raw one, put it at the bottom, and then we're just going to roll it up. Pull it nice and tight. Roll it up. Now we want to squeeze the ends so it gets it nice and tight, but not too much, because see, if you do it too much, it starts to buckle on the inside and it won't cook evenly, and when you go to slice it in the end, it won't look very nice. Just a little bit of butcher's twine. Cut a couple of pieces for the ends. Butcher's twine is also something nice to have around. It can be a little bit expensive, but you don't use it very often, so I would suggest just have some around. You can do a lot of great things with it. You know, stuffing pork loins, stuffing chickens. Oops. Just simple overhand knots. There are some fancy knots if you wanted to make this very tight. You know, sometimes for a torchon or foie gras poach, you really want to squeeze it nice and tight to get all the air bubbles out, but not in this case. And we'll do a couple right there in the middle so it doesn't shake apart when it's cooking. So we're going to put it in a pot and boil it. We'll simmer it. You really don't want to boil it. You want to simmer it. If you boil it, it'll boil apart, and you're kind of overcooking. Cook low and slow. That's my philosophy. Don't rush it. It'll be worth it in the end. One more. You can see I put one right in the middle where the leg bone or the legs came together and the chicken breast were. Oh, that's a good lesson. Never cut it before you know how much you need. Always measure it first and then cut it. Nice little chicken roulade ready to be poached. You can use a container like this one if you have one. That's what I like to do. I just plop it right in there, put it in the oven full of water with a cover on top. But you can also do it on the stovetop in a big stock pot. Put it in there, fill it up with cold water, slowly bring it to simmer, and let it simmer for like maybe about 45 minutes. Take your thermometer, poke it in there. It should read 165 at least. You can cook it a little bit under that and let it carry over cook, but I would not suggest it. I would suggest take it to 165 and then pull it out. Let it cool. You can put it in an ice bath or just in the fridge, but let it cool and sit. And this is a little mini one. That's what you get. We'll just slice this right down the middle. See that? You have the white meat and the dark meat. This one has pancetta and Swiss in it. Then you slice up a couple of pieces. Be sure that you get all the plastic off. This last one, maybe I'll just cut it like, okay. A nice plate down here. Set this up for you. Rice, tomatoes, onions, a little bit of thyme. Set your chicken on there. Just a neat little twist on a chicken dish. We'll take some spinach and chiffonade is what this is, chiffonade. Do it with basil or spinach. Just a cool little garnish, I guess. There you are. Spatchcocked chicken. Rolled. And stuff it with whatever you like. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.